quiet village in the heart of Oyo, there lives a river that remembers. It does not forget the footsteps of strangers, and those who walk too close may never walk back. Adeshawa squinted at the loud, sun-faded NYSC notice board. Her heart dropped as her eyes scanned the new posting list. Okeji Village, Oyo State. She blinked, scrolled again. What? No, 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 no. She said it aloud, ignoring the blaring trumpets from the parade corner. She had requested Ibadan City, maybe Akure or even Ilorin, somewhere with a mall, maybe at least decent Wi-Fi, but Okeji. Her bunkmate peered over her shoulder. Village ke, wahala don jam you. Okeji, she had never heard of it. That meant it wasn't good. The bus rattled like it might fall apart. She sat sandwiched between a sweating farmer with 2 chickens and a woman breastfeeding twins. The bus stopped at a lonely junction surrounded by overgrown bushes. Adeshawa stepped down from the bus and stood still for a moment, holding her worn-out traveling bag tightly in one hand. She looked down the narrow path ahead, reddish-brown soil winding through thick vegetation. She had never felt so alone, so unsure. The lodge was more of a room, with concrete walls that hadn't been painted since the early 90s. A single wooden table, a rusty fan, and an iron bed frame. The only other copper posted there had been deployed weeks ago, she was told. You are the only one now, the village secretary said with a tired shrug, handing her a small bag of garri and sachet water. You will get used to it. There was no network, no foil. The night came early and loud. There was peace, yes, but not the good kind. It was the kind of quiet that listened back. On her second day, Adeshawa decided to walk to the village market, wearing her white sneakers and her NYSC shirt. The locals stared, not rudely, but curiously, like they had seen her in a dream before. She tried to smile at an old woman selling dried fish, Ekaroma. The woman's eyes widened for a moment, then she slowly covered her goods and muttered something under her breath. Adeshawa paused. That wasn't a normal reaction. That night, Adeshawa had her first dream. She stood by a wild river, its waters dark like oil, moonlight shimmered on its surface, the air smelled like wet earth, and she could hear the sound of a crying girl's voice. Help me! Then silence, then her own name, Adeshawa. She woke up gasping, her bedsheet clinging to her skin. She resumed at the primary school where she was assigned to teach. The children were bright, polite, and full of life. But when she tried to take them on a walk near the outskirts, towards what looked like a river trail, the headmistress called her into her office immediately. You must never go near Odoaiku, the woman warned. The river? The woman said nothing. Her eyes looked afraid. It's just a river, Adeshawa said. No, the headmaster whispered, it is a salt. That evening, Adeshawa sat near the square, sipping from a bottle of lacasera she had managed to find in a local shop. 2 children ran past her, laughing. One called out, Don't let her go near the river. She is new, she doesn't know. The other shouted back, The river eats strangers first. She froze. She turned to an old man sitting under a mango tree and asked, What do they mean by that, the river eats? The man smiled without humor, revealing missing teeth. Odoaiku is not a river, it's a memory, and memories drown. He got up and hobbled away, leaving Adeshawa with a half-finished drink and a raisin heart. Later that night, she couldn't sleep. She looked in a small mirror beside the bed. For a split second, it wasn't her face looking back. It was a girl, soaked with water dripping from her hair. Then it was gone. Adeshawa jumped back. Her heartbeat thundered. She stepped outside for air. There, in the far distance, she saw the glints of a moonlight dancing over something moving. A narrow trail, overgrown and unused, leading deep into the trees. And from somewhere in the dark, just above a whisper, she heard it again. Adeshawa. Adeshawa woke before sunrise, her chest rising fast. The room felt colder than usual. She hadn't had any dreams, or maybe she couldn't remember, but her body felt like it had been holding its breath all night. She walked to the window and opened it gently. Outside, the village lay still. Not even the birds were awake. Then she added, Adeshawa. A voice, faint like a whisper, carried by fog. She froze. I didn't hear anything, she said out loud, but deep down she knew she did. Later, she joined the line at the village well. The women stood quietly, balancing buckets on their hips. Their wrappers clung to their skin from the heat. Adeshawa tried to start a conversation, but the air felt too heavy. One girl near her age, with sharp eyes and a quiet face, looked at her NYSC shirt and muttered, "Another one." Adeshawa blinked. "Another what?" The girl smiled quickly, but her voice dropped low. "If you hear your name at night, don't answer, not even if it sounds like your mother." Before Adeshawa could ask more, the girl turned her back and faced the well. It was like she had said too much already. In the classroom that afternoon, Adeshawa was teaching vowels when she noticed a little girl, Temilade, scribbling in her notebook, lost in thought. She bent closer. A black river, drawn in rough curves, faces floating in the water. "What is this, Temi?" Adeshawa asked. Temi didn't smile. "It's the river that eats." Adeshawa sat on the edge of the table. "Why does it eat?" Temi's voice was soft. "Because she's angry," the girl they threw in. The bell rang soon after, but Adeshawa's hands felt cold the rest of the day. That night, the rain came like war, loud, heavy, and endless. Adeshawa couldn't sleep. She stepped outside barefoot, letting the rain wash over her. Then she heard it, a strange deep in the forest, calling, familiar, soft. Her body moved, not on its own, but not by her will either. She walked through the wet grass, through bush paths, deeper into the unknown. Then she saw it, Odoaiku. The river was nothing like she imagined. Wild, black, silent, the surface didn't move, not even under the rain. It looked like oil. She stepped closer. Then she saw her reflection, but it didn't blink. It didn't follow her movement. It smiled. Then a cold hand shot up from the river and grabbed her ankle. She screamed. A strong grip pulled her back hard. When she looked up, Mama Tutu, the mad woman, wrapper-soaked, eyes wide. "Do you want to die?" she shouted. "That river doesn't just eat your body, it eats your name." Adeshawa gasped. "I heard my name. That's how it starts." Mama Tutu's voice rose with the wind. Then, just like that, she turned and disappeared into the forest like a shadow. Back inside her lodge, Adeshawa sat on her bed, drenched and shaking. She had locked the windows, drawn the curtain, and placed her Bible beside her. She reached for her mirror. In the reflection behind her, a girl dripping wet, face pale, eyes white, her mouth moved slowly. "Let me in." The mirror slipped from her hand and shattered. Darkness swallowed the room. The early morning sun filtered through the trees as pupils lined up in uneven rows. A small bell rang lazily from the school porch. Adeshawa stood with the other teachers, trying to smile through her lingering anxiety. The events of the night before still clung to her like cobwebs. The cracked mirrors, the wet girl in the reflection, the words, "She hasn't told anyone." Who would believe her? Just as the anthem ended, the headmistress rushed toward the assembly, her face pale and tight with worry. "Where is Aduke?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Have any of you seen her this morning?" The other teachers shook their heads. Adeshawa stepped forward. "Which one is Aduke?" The headmistress pointed to a now empty spot in the front row. "Little girl, short hair, usually wears a red ribbon. She never misses school." "Was she at school yesterday?" Adeshawa asked. The headmistress nodded slowly. "She told me she wanted to pick something for her mother near the forest road after class." Adeshawa's heart dropped. "Which road exactly?" The headmistress hesitated. "The one near the river." A wave of silence fell over the staff. By noon, a crowd had gathered. Men with machetes and torches, women murmuring prayers, children peeking from windows. The search party combed the path leading through Odoaiku. Some men refused to go near the river. Others muttered things like, "She's gone already," and "It always takes the young ones." Adeshawa insisted on joining the search. The headmistress gave her a long look before letting her go. As they approached the river's edge, Adeshawa's stomach churned. It looked different in daylight, but no less wrong. The water still didn't move. It was as though time around it stood still. Then one of the men whistled. There, just near the river bank, a red ribbon, tangled in a thorn bush, soaked. Aduke, someone called weakly, but there was no answer. Adeshawa moved closer, scanning the water. Her eyes locked onto something beneath the surface, not a reflection, but a face just beneath, motionless, eyes wide open, mouth slightly agape. She blinked, and it was gone. Did you see that? She gasped. No one answered. There was a face in the water. The men stepped away from her slowly. One of them crossed himself. You need to stay away from this place, Madam Copper, another whispered. This river, it plays tricks. The news spread quickly. Aduke is missing. Red ribbon found. Copper girls saw something in the river. As Adeshawa walked through the village later that day, she felt it. The stares, the whispers, the way people lowered their voices when she passed. She's the one it wants now. An old woman selling herbs spat on the ground near her feet. You brought something with you. I felt it when you arrived, the woman eased. You wear a cross, but you carry old spirits on your back. Adeshawa rushed home. On getting home, she turned on her flashlight. Her mirror lay shattered, pieces still under her bed. She picked one shard up and stared at it. Her eye looked back, magnified. Then a flicker in the background of the shard, a wet figure. The girl, her mouth opened again. They killed me. Adeshawa screamed and dropped the shard. She stumbled back and tripped over her own bag. It spilled open, revealing something she did not pack, an old comb. Wooden, intricately carved, wet. She picked it up slowly on the handle, a name etched in fine, fading strokes. Oyin Came. Her head spun. Who was Oyin Came? How did this comb get into her bag? She stared at it, and for the first time since she arrived at Okeji, she felt something deep in her chest. Not fear, but a strange pull, like something inside her was waking up. That night, her dream to return. She stood ankle deep in the river. It was pitch black around her, but the water beneath her glowed dimly, full of ghostly faces all looking up at her. Then came the voice, not one, but many, whispering over each other. Find the shrine. They lied. She was never a witch. And then, clearly one voice rose above the rest. I am Oyin Came. They tied me with ropes and called me evil. I only wanted to heal. They drowned me because they were afraid. Suddenly, a burst of bubbles erupted in the water. Ants reached up again, not to pull her down, but to offer her something. A key, old, rusted. She reached for it and woke up gasping. The key was not in her hands, but on her bed, real, wet, cold. Adeshawa woke to find the key lying on the bed. Cold, wet, as though pulled straight from the river in the middle of the night. She hadn't heard anyone enter. She wrapped it in a scarf, slid it into her jean, and stepped out into a village that felt suddenly smaller. At the market, people's greetings were fewer. Eyes lingered on her like she carried a shadow. At Mama Tutu's herb stall, the old woman's gaze went straight to the bulge in her pocket. It's calling you now, she said softly. Oyin Came. That name felt like a stone in Adeshawa's chest. Mama Tutu told her the truth. Oyin Came had been a gifted healer, not a witch. She cured with water, but the elders feared her fire. They accused her of curses and bound her to the river in sacrifice. All they had done, Mama Tutu said, was teach the water to hate. Following Mama Tutu's whispered directions, Adeshawa found a forgotten shrine hidden deep in the forest. The key slid into a rusted padlock with a soft click. Inside, dust and silence clung to the air. A cracked clay tablet showed a young girl bound to a rock, waves and flames carved beneath her. When Adeshawa touched the carvings, the shrine vanished. She suddenly found herself standing in the past, the night of the sacrifice. Torches lit the shore, voices chanted, and Nkem's eyes burned as she whispered, "Water remembers." Then she fell back into the shrine. Back in the shrine, fresh footprints in the dust led out. Someone else had been there. That night, fire tore through Shivala Wiwanju's compound. The strange thing is, it touched nothing else. Not the nearby huts, not the trees. Villagers swore they heard laughter in the flames. Fingers turned toward Adeshawa. The next morning, restless, she returned to the shrine, hidden in a corner. Wrapped in red clothes, she found a drum. Small, round, and strange, its top was not leather but glass. When she tapped it, a reflection vanished, replaced by Nkem's face. The vision came again, the trial, the binding, the plunge into the river. But this time, Nkem's voice followed her under the water. "Let my blood become the memory they cannot forget." When the vision faded, Adeshawa saw marks on her palms, rippling symbols that shifted like water. Later that day, the village erupted in joy. Aduke had returned. The little girl sat in the square, damp dress clinging to her skin, a red ribbon in her head. She smiled at Adeshawa while chewing corn, but her eyes were too clear, too cold. On her wrist was the same shifting symbol as Adeshawa's hands. That night, washing her face, Adeshawa froze. The water in the bowl rippled, and Aduke's reflection stared back. "She's not gone," the voice said inside her head. "She's watching through me." Behind her, the drum beat twice on its own. Tom, tom,